We are going to review the Spaceman. It is Era 1 Independent Heavy Tank. It's available as part of Metal Fest HIS event. So let's get started with the setup that I'm using for this tank. For my equipment, I'm using advanced loader, gun stabilizer, and traction system. So this tank has the rocket booster mechanic. It is similar to the BZ-176 in World War II Tier 8. That's what the hull is based off. Of course, probably some differences. But it does get 5 rocket boosters. So that's the USP of this tank, along with the ability of firing different shells that have different reloads. So your first and third shell has the same reload, and the middle shell, it gets higher alpha. So it has slightly longer reload, and we're going to discuss that in detail as well. So for my crew skills, I'm going with Bond Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Sixth Sense, Armor Angling, Controlled Impact, and you'll know that's a crucial perk for this tank because of the rocket booster. You can do some serious ram damage, track mechanic, and supply conservation. For supply conservation, you can change it to run and gun for better gun handling. I was just using my existing crew because this tank does have a bigger gun, which means the gun handling isn't the greatest. I'm also using 3 large consumable, repair kit, med kit, and food, and of course the camo paint. Looking at the armor model, it does have some 300 plus armors over different small components, but the main armor cheeks or the turret cheeks is 250 which is decent. Your bottom is 240. Now, of course, it is Aravan. A lot of tanks they have higher penetration than that. This tank is obviously annoying when it's a tier 8 to penetrate with other tier 8s, but you can get easily pen when you're playing this tank because Era 1 has a lot of tanks that have higher penetration. But it's workable. Like poorly aimed shots, if you're angled, it can bounce from shots. It is a top tier heavy though. We have 152 on the side turret as well as the upper side hull. And then the lower side or the center hull is 100 Side scraping is a little bit possible, especially after the overmatch mechanic changes in Cold War 2, which is not 3 anymore, it's 3.5. So definitely a stronger candidate with the 100 plate. And then lower is 60 But again, when you do side scrape, you can expose some other angles. So you have to be careful because in Cold War, people just play very fast. So I would say a decent armor for Cold War. Is it a top tier heavy? Isn't it like IS 4M? It does have the medium mobility. So considering that in mind, the medium mobility it does have, I would say, decent armor because it doesn't have a huge cupola as well. For the engine modules, we have engine in the back, fuel tank in the front. Then we have ammo in the middle towards the right side as well as the back of the turret. And 3 crew members in the turret and 1 in the hull. And now looking at the stats of this tank, as I said, it's a rocket booster mechanic, and of course it also features the Nemesis or Technodrome type of gun where you have different reload for different shells. So forward 61, I have traction on. It does go faster when you have the rocket booster on. It goes 12 faster at base. So you can go about 73 or 74. Reverse speed is 23. Horsepower 1050. Power to weight 18.39. It is heavy, very good at doing damage. You get 5 rocket boosters, cooldown is 4 seconds, and rocket boosters last for 10 seconds. Do keep in mind, one of the new skills coming is you will be able to add one more rocket booster to your tank. So I think it's called Rocketeer, and you can essentially stack your rocket boosters to 6. HP of 2200, hull rotation 35, terrain resistance of 1.01 for firm, 1.2 for medium, and 2.12 for soft. Concealment, it's a heavy tank, not really a good concealment. View range 456. I'm not running any view range perks because it's Cold War and has true vision. Turret rotation 27. So accuracy during rotation 1.17. Not the greatest, but it does have a very, very big gun. So that is expected. Gun depression of a solid 10 degrees. Reload 16.77. Rate of fire of 3.58. Accuracy during movement 4.19, which is terrible, terrible. So do not fire on the move as you're not going to hit anything. Aim time 3 seconds, also very long. Ammo capacity of 40. So the base reload of the first and the third shell, or the AP and AT, is 23 seconds, and I think the premium AP is around 26. So it doesn't show on the modules. I wish they add that information there along with the speed in rocket mode. Your DPM is 23-27. I think that's with the standard shells. As I said, it doesn't lose penetration over distance. So 242 pen for standard and premium. It says premium has our alpha. 760 as opposed to 650, and AT of course has 840 with 86 pen. Module damage of AT is very high, 430. And even the module damage for standard and premium is solid as well, 203, 230 because of higher caliber. Ammo speed of 1100 on the standard and premium, and HE is 680. For silver earn rate, we have 55% of silver earn rate, and Commander XP earn rate of 20%, and premium vehicle earn rate of 10%. Looking at the stats, the tank is solid and it is fun to play. I think it is one of the stronger tanks just because of how fast it is and Cold War gameplay depending on the fast play. And you can ram people really quickly, as you saw earlier in the video, and they can lose a lot of health. You shoot them for like 800 close to and ram them for another 800, 900. That's a huge impact on the tank out of the game. And with the rocket boosters, you can do it very effectively even over short distances because you gain acceleration very quickly. So I would say a decent solid tank at era 1, and not what even at tier 8 in World War 2 was decent, but it was tier 8, so I wasn't a fan of that tank. And whether you should buy it or not, that is up to you if you're a fan of this tank. Usually I save my gold, my first priority, as I always say, is season pass, basic season pass, then ultimate season pass, and then of course the top tier tanks. But this tank also looks fun and strong, similar to some of the tanks we had during Ninja Turtle event, which was I don't even remember. It's one of the two heavy we had in Cold War. Those were also nice. I didn't get them, but I would want to at some point. So this, even with this tank, in the future, probably when it has a better discount, you can get it at a 35. Maybe it's a 50 or 55. Maybe I'll get it then. But definitely one of the tanks I'm going to look out for it when it gets available at a better discount. So it's up to you. It's up to you. If you have extra gold, sure, I would say it's worth it. But if you are limited on gold, you know what to do. Go with the ultimate season pass. So let's see how this tank actually performs in the battlefield now. I am in swamp and ready to ram some tanks. As mentioned earlier, the tank is really good at ramming and doing damage with the rams because it has that rocket booster. So even if you're stationary fighting another tank and he's a block away from you, you can still do some serious damage because of activating the rocket boosters, because you gain that speed very quickly, and it is a heavy tank. And most of the tanks in era 1, they're medium or light. There's some, of course, other heavy tanks as well, but it's not like you have to struggle to find some lightly or relatively lightly armored tanks to ram. So I was going right initially, but notice my team is pushing to the other side, so quickly changed direction. I'm conserving my rocket boosters because the tank is fast even without them, and I kind of want to use them as a weapon where I can ram tanks. Because it was a light tank, I decided to push forward and ram him, but he was a little faster there, and my rocket booster expired. I should have not stopped there for a better ram. Still did 725 damage, and as mentioned earlier, do not fire while you're moving because the tank has terrible on the move accuracy, not to mention I was using the rocket booster as well, which made it even worse. So that was a hopeful shot which didn't pen, and light managed to run away. So wasted one rocket booster here, and I wasn't happy. And as I said, in future we'll have a skill rocket here where you can equip additional a rocket booster to your tank or any tank. You get one extra, so that is one extra ram. That could be for this tank an additional 500 to 800 ram damage. As we saw earlier in the video, it can do some significant ram damage. You do have to keep in mind it has a very, very long reload, doesn't have the greatest alpha, so you have to make sure someone's with you because otherwise you can easily get outplayed by the opponent. However, the saving grace is in era 1 there are a lot of newer players, so they don't know much about tanks, so you can survive a little longer than you should otherwise if you're playing tier 10 or 9, or even if you're playing era 2 or era 3. But it is always better to have someone with you so he can defend you while you're reloading, and that's what happened here. I'm in the middle. I have put myself in a tough spot, and STB1 is pushing or peeking from the right and shooting me, and of course there's tank in front of me, and I put a nice shot into him, and what do we have? A light tank pushing me. Of course I can bounce the light shot from the front, but once he gets around me I can't really do much because he's just too fast. And as I said, I have long reload, I have terrible accuracy. I have to make sure I connect those shots and hopefully maybe set them on fire. But I'm in a tough spot. Our team did win that left corner, but still worried about the STB. And what do we have? A light tank. He's moving forward. I prioritized the light because I could see that he's thinking about pushing. There's a heavy in front, STB behind, another medium pushing from the right side, and this light tank being annoying. I thought that's it. I made a terrible play, but as I said, the armor is decent where it can bounce some poorly aimed shots, or even if you're like circling, it does have the raw armor, so when they're circling, not properly aiming, you might bounce some shots. So the light tank, I managed to put another shot into him. Did get lucky there, took my time aiming, and now since his almost double digit, he decided to run away, because what can he do? And while I was waiting here, I found this nice trench as well where I could go hull down, and they couldn't really shoot me. And what do we have here? This medium that was putting pressure on me. As soon as the light left me, he ran away as well. And this is my perfect 900 ramming damage. As I said, for this tank, or a lot of the tanks in Cold War, the ram or this rocket booster isn't for speed, it is for your 900 damage. It's a weapon and you have to use it like that. Of course, you can close in distance as well. So I activated one again here. I thought I could ram the tank. He's going forward. The thing is, as I said, you can't really steer, and I ended up ramming my own tank, but it wasn't my fault. Still did 500 damage though. Still ended up doing 500 damage while I was stationary. That is some insane ramming capabilities of this tank. And then of course I penned him as well. 6,500 damage and 2 kills. They only have 5 tanks remaining, so charging towards a healthier tank. The tank on the right is low, and on the left he's relatively healthy, so pushing forward for another ram here. He does have 1000 HP. I wanted to close down distance because I don't want to stop my rocket booster, and once I was close enough, I made sure, or I had a high probability of hitting him, and of course once they die, I automatically penned. 1 tank remaining, a beautiful game of 7,300 damage. I did end up putting myself in a bad position, but still made it work. As I said, the armor is workable, especially how people play at R1, and it has the mobility of a medium and better armor than a medium tank because it doesn't have a head. So let me know in comments, what do you think about this tank? Are you planning to buy it? As I said, I might not buy it right now, or definitely not going to buy it right now, but eventually in the future I would love to have this tank because these rocket boosters in Cold War are fun. So do let me know in comments which tank are you looking for in this case, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and check out our community regiment as well if you haven't already.